What is good? What is good for the culture family? Oh my goodness. Hope you guys had an amazing weekend. It is finna be a crazy week, right? A crazy week. So we're gonna hop directly into it. Before we actually get to the charts, we're gonna take a look at some of the news events that we have for this week. And these were mentioned in our VIP, but we're gonna break down a couple of them here real quick. So first thing that we want to mention, let's see if it'll get it right. So today we'll go over what we have in terms of news for today. We have at 9:45, we have PMI data coming out. So we already have some volume into the markets, and I said that this is going to be a high volume week because of what happened over the weekend. So for those of you who don't know, over the weekend, Trump's administration bombed Iran's 3 nuclear sites. This bombing caused to have a spike for gold, which we'll actually take a look. But we have, just so that you guys know, we have news, high volume news every day this week. So we're expecting a ton of volume for the markets this week. So we're going to go back here to Trading View, and we're going to take a look at what we're actually seeing here playing out. So I mentioned to our members that it was likely that we would see a spike, or not a spike, but a gap open for the market open. We in fact did see a gap open, and then what did we see immediately following this gap open? The gap immediately began to start to get filled. We started to see these lower lows and lower highs begin to form. Price created this low here, switching the structure from now being in a bullish market structure to a bearish market structure. And then I mentioned to our team that we could see a correction and then a continuation down, which we in fact did see with this move here. Now, where are we at currently in the markets? Now, if we take a look here on the larger time frame, we rejected off of a key area, right? Where we had that rejection, we rejected off of this area immensely. This 4-hour candle now flipping bearish. We have a ton of bearish pressure in the markets from this area. Now, if we take a look here on the smaller time frame, what happened, right? We're going from creating higher highs to higher lows within this bullish trend here. High, low, new high. Now we just swept through this key low. Now, what are we expecting and for, coming into the markets for today? Well, a corrective structure and a continuation down. I don't really see anything flipping. We have to wait to see what the PMI data is. So for those of you in the VIP, we're going to wait for our PMI data at 9:45. Goodness gracious. Let me start this over because you guys probably couldn't see this. Let me start. Let's go here. All right, there we go. So what do we see happening? We've seen that price open with a fat gap here on our 5-minute time frame. You can see we opened with the gap up. Price then pushed up. Immediately we started to see the rejection and push to the downside. Price then broke through this low, flipping the structure from now creating higher highs and higher lows to now creating lower lows and lower highs. I mentioned to our VIP members that we could see this low. Once this low got broken here, that we could see a correction and then a continuation down, which we in fact did see. Now, where are we at in the markets currently? Well, we're seeing a key rejection. If we take a look here on the 4-hour time frame, off of these highs, right? So our 4-hour candle just now flipped bearish with the high volume that we had from our previous 30-minute candle. We have a ton of volume in the markets today, and then we have PMI data expecting to be released. I told everybody in the VIP that we're expecting a ton of volume this week. Not only just what's happening from, the war perspective, but just in terms of a news perspective this week, we got a ton of news, which is going to add for more volume, which offers bigger risk to reward trades, So that's what we're gonna bank on. So in terms of what are we looking for today, if this current 4-hour candle closes as a bearish candle, I see no reason why price couldn't break this 33.56 low. We'll probably likely look to target this 35.36 low. Now, why we're also going to look to target this 33.56 low is because this was our previous daily candle low. So Friday we closed as a bearish daily candle. You can see this candle here, bearish daily candle. Let's delete this. Yes, remove it. All right, there we go. So you can see we close as a bearish daily candle. It's likely that we see that bearish daily candle's low get swept. We do have this gap here on this daily time frame that we could probably see a little bit better here. Not quite, actually. We can see it pretty solid on here, though. We have this gap down where price opened with a gap up here, so we haven't filled this gap to the downside quite yet, which is another confirmation. Not to mention, on our lower time frame, we have our lower time frame volume confirmation. We always want to follow the direction of our volume. So our volume currently is bearish, so there's no reason for us to fight against this bearish volume. Price created lower lows and lower highs, then we broke through those highs, and now we get an impulse away to the downside, flipping the structure back bearish in the direction of what our larger time frame trend is. 33.56 level is where I'm going to be looking to sell to today. If we break through this low, a potential correction and a continuation down, The only thing that would invalidate this structure is if we see a break of our 33.97 high at this area here where we have resistance. As long as we don't break that area, I don't see why this wouldn't continue pushing to the downside. Wait and keep an eye on what the PMI data is. Even if you look to take trades before our PMI news, be sure to manage risk accordingly, moving stops to break even, doing whatever it is, protecting that capital, because you don't know how this could potentially spike. Now we're anticipating a spike to the downside because our volume is currently down and our larger time frame is in fact bearish as well. So we'll be looking for that steeper move to the downside, targeting, like I said, that 33.56 level. Let's take a look here at the NASDAQ. If we took a look at the Nas100, let's actually go to our daily time frame. Previous daily, in fact, did close as a bearish candle. I mentioned to our VIP members that it was likely that the next daily filled this wick to the downside, but how we react off of this low was going to be crucial, because this is our larger time frame key low, because price in fact created a high, we created a low, new high, new low, new high, new higher low, higher high. And then if price is going to remain in this bullish trend, we wouldn't see a break of this low here, though it was likely that we see this wick fill to the downside because we closed as a bearish candle for Friday. So what did we see? Markets open with a gap down, immediately pushing through the targets that we had mentioned in our weekend breakdown analysis, looking for price to target that 21.65 level. We immediately gap down. If we take a look here, let's go to our 5-minute time frame. You can see how we gap down, price opened down here, we pushed down, and then it began to correct this move to the upside, rejecting off of that larger time frame key low. So what would I expect? I would expect a steeper bullish move here for the Nas100 coming into the markets today, looking to target potentially a 21.946 high. Why? Because this is where we start to see our shift. Price was creating lower lows and lower highs. Then we see a break of this high here, a correction back down. What appears to be a potential volume move. In order for this to continue pushing bullish, I want to see this 21.946 high get broken, and I don't want to see this 21.773 levels get broken. So keep an eye. If this low gets taken out here, that'll invalidate the structure, and then we'll look for what the updated structure is. As of right now, all signs to me are pointing to a continued bullish wave to this potential 21.946 high. As of right now, our 15-minute time frame, okay, it does have a bottom wick. Yeah, so as of right now, that's what I see. 21.946 high, looking for this larger time frame level to hold, rejecting off of this area for this 1-hour candle to potentially this 4-hour candle to potentially flip bullish. If this 4-hour candle closes as a bearish 4-hour candle, we'll see. We do have a strong rejection off of this area here, but we'll see how price reacts off of that 21.946 level. That'll give us some more information when the news gets dropped. Similar circumstances here with the YM, and likewise of ES as well. We'll take a look here at the YM first. So Friday, I mentioned that I wanted to see how price reacted from these levels up here. We did, in fact, we were coming into the session really bullish, and then price showed signs of rejection. You'll see that I have it marked out on ES as well. But at the time, we hadn't seen this rejection yet, but it was possible that we could see a rejection from this area. Why? Because this is a larger time frame area of interest where price we've seen rejection off of in the past, right? So price is rejected every time when testing into these highs, and price has just been in an overall bearish market structure. That's why I'm saying, like, if the current 4-hour candle closes as a bearish candle, we already have some signs of rejection here. We could see a steeper move to the downside. If we do see a bearish candle close, then that's when we'll look for a steeper move to the downside, likely to target our previous 4-hour candle low at the 42.383 level. But as long as we can break above our previous 4-hour candle high, especially if this 4-hour candle closes bullish, then we'll look for a 42.614 targeted high. Yeah, so that's what we're seeing there. Lower time frame is now in a bullish trend, right? Larger time frame is in a bullish trend. We just want to see that continuation continued confirmation. So ES, looking at the ES here, you can see ES closed as a bearish candle. We are rejecting just as we seen happen on Friday. Wanted to see that rejection. We got that rejection. Price filled the gap to the downside that I had mentioned for Friday. You can see we had this gap here. Gaps are easy targeted levels that we can look for price to go to. Hit that gap, filled it. You can see once we open with the gap, we immediately corrected this gap. This is what I mean by gaps are targeted levels. Filling that gap and then seeing a correction back down. So what am I looking for the ES is a potential continued bullish move, right? We have a strong rejection, but if price rejects off of this 6,021 lows, we'll see a steeper move to the downside. We could target 6,003 levels, and especially if this 4-hour candle closes bearish, looking for the next 4-hour candle to fill that wick to the downside. Likewise of Nas too, right? So if we see this 4-hour candle close bearish, we'll look for a scaled move to the downside to target that 2173 levels. So that is pretty much all I have for today. We just have a ton of volume. So this week, make sure you're managing your risk. We could potentially see some big moves this week in the market. We have news, like I said, every single day this week. So be sure that you're wary of that coming into the market sessions. And then just, execute this week. Execute. So I will see those of you who are in the VIP in our VIP call in the next, 45 minutes. And I'll see you guys later. I'll see you guys tomorrow.